Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started creating the Parallax 3D effect on your images. So I'm going to go grab this image of an owl, and once you drop it in here, you have to select either the magic motion or the parallax effect. So I'm going to go with the parallax effect over here. And in the next step, we can go through and adjust, the size of, the image, the resolution that you want. I'm going to go with original just to make it so I can see the entire picture, and then go to the next step over here. Now, on the first step for the parallax effect, what we need to do is cut out our main object or objects, and then in the next step we need to go through and actually fill in the gap where we've cut it out, and then we can go through into the editor and start animating the parallax effect. So what I'm going to do is click on the select object tool, and then just simply go through and start drawing out around this main object. So what I'm going to do is just kind of cut out this branch as well as the owl, and I'll just quickly go through and do this. So you basically just have to left click around it like so. You can use the scroll on your mouse to zoom in and zoom out. And you want to try and go as close to the border as you can, or the outline of your objects. Okay, so you can kind of play around with like this. And once you've gone through and added all your dots, you can then make adjustments to it and add new dots as well. So I'm just going to go through quickly and just add these dots in. Okay, cool. So once you've just connected the dots like so, you can go through and have a look at your outline, and you can go ahead and adjust the dots like this. You can also add new dots by holding down Control and left clicking to add another dot. Maybe I'll just quickly make some adjustments over here. It doesn't have to be perfect because we can add a blur kind of outline in the editor to make it more smoother. But let's just make it like so. Okay, cool. So that's looking pretty good. And what I want to do now is give this a name. So let's call this one owl, like that. And if you want to select multiple objects, you can also go through and click select object again and draw it out again, and you have multiple selections. So I've done this. I'm going to do the next step over here. And in this step, what we can do is basically we need to fill in the gaps of the object that we just cut out. Because when we go over to the next step over here into the editor, once we start playing around with the camera, you'll be able to see if I just maybe I'll drag this over a little bit. If I start playing around the camera, you can see that we've got this black background cut out, and it doesn't look very good. So we need to go back over here to the next step and use the clone tool. So if I go to start cloning, I'm going to bring up the radius quite big, so you can see I've got a really big selection over here. And what I'm going to do is simply go close to the edge of that cutout, hold down Control to take a sample of this part of the image and left click on it, and then I just need to move my mouse over slightly, and you'll be able to see that it basically copies that image like so, and I can start filling in this gap. And you can also make other selections. So let's say you want to select over here, just move over slightly and just add in your your kind of crop like this. So let's just go, and I'll just quickly grab this and move this all the way down over here. And yeah, you want to try your best to make it look as good as you can. The best thing to do is just to follow along with me with this image, because it's quite a good one to start off with. And as you get better and you figure out how it all works, you can play around with more complex images. But yeah, you just go through. You can zoom in as well, and you can adjust the radius to make it a bit smaller. And then just left click to select, and then play around with that like so. So what I'm going to do is, just go through and keep filling this in. I'll make this a bit bigger, and then we can go through and hop on over to the editor and start animating this. Okay, cool. So that's looking pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect. But yeah, you can go through and play around with that. And then we go to the next step over here. Now, as you can see, if I just move this camera over here, you'll be able to see we've got this really nice looking 3D effect. And if I zoom in, you can see we've got a branch and an owl, and it's a lot further away from the actual background. And the closer I move my objects to the left, so over here, you'll be able to see that we've got more of a 3D effect like that, okay? And the reason is that over here is the beginning of the camera, or the kind of the closest part of the camera, and here's the end of the camera. So if I go back over to layers, it's easier to move over here. If I bring this complete to the right and then go back to camera, you'll be able to see that it's basically moving as one object with the background. But if I go back over to layers and then move this over about here and go to camera, it's a lot more 3D, okay? So what we want to do is go back to layers, and over here you can add things like text. So let's just add, let's say zoo, and I might adjust the letter spacing, and I'll make this text font BBAS and position it like so. And let's say open. And I'll adjust the letter spacing as well, and I'll go with something like work sans. Okay, something like that looks alright. And one other thing as well I want to add is a butterfly. So I'm going to go over to effects over here and select this butterfly here. And I'll just resize this one down and position it over on the branch like that. And I'm going to go with the speed of this animation to make it slow, okay? So now I've got a butterfly, and what we want to do is we want this butterfly to rest on the branch. So to do that, we want to make sure that it's in the same position as the object of the owl or the branch, like that, so that it's on the same basic axis as this object. So when it zooms in, it's not going to fly away, it's just going to stay there, okay? So what we want to do now is begin adding things like particles and camera animations. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to particles. I'm going to turn this on, and you can select different particles over here. You can also upload your own custom PNG icons or images, and you can create your own, have your own particles. This one looks really good, and I might adjust the blur slightly. I think it looks alright actually. Maybe I'll bring down maybe the size slightly like this. Maybe bring it, let's have a look, something like 30 might be alright. Okay, cool. So now we can create the animations. So I'm going to start over here at this position. I might rotate it slightly like this and bring it maybe across a little bit like that. So this is going to be the start position, and then I'm going to double click on the timeline at 5 seconds to create a new keyframe. And these keyframes you can obviously position where you want. It's basically creating an animation from this point to this point. And at this point I've got this one selected. What I can do is use the plus icons over here to zoom it in, and also drag it out to the left slightly maybe, and maybe also rotate it. Let's go back like this maybe. Okay, that's good. I might also adjust the text so it's on the same position as the other text, like that. Okay, something like this looks quite cool. So it's going to go from here, and it's going to zoom into here. And yeah, let's just preview that actually. Okay, that's looking really good. Maybe I'd have the text slightly in line, I guess, with the other objects, so something like this. And I could actually rotate it so that the text is in line with the camera. So something like that looks good. You play around like that. And you can also, if you select the camera and go to settings, you can adjust the rotation and the scale over here as well. If you want to rotate it like this, things like that. Bring it down to 0 actually, like that. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's just preview that. Cool. I think it actually looks better if you actually rotate it in, so I might just rotate this slightly. Let's say we start from, maybe we can start from about this -6, and I'll zoom in a little bit as well. So let's say from that kind of position, and then it zooms in like this. Okay, cool. Let's just preview that. Okay, that's looking really, really good. So one other thing we can also do is you can adjust the duration of your timeline. So if you want it to be longer than 10 seconds when you export it, you can obviously adjust this however long you want. I'm going to go with 10 seconds. And what I want to do is I want this to start at this position and also end at this position. So with this keyframe select, I'm just going to double click to create another keyframe, and it's going to be the same position as this one, and just drag this right down to the end. And it's going to go from here, and it's going to go back to here, so that when I play this on my website or on Facebook, it's going to continually loop without any jitters, okay? And one other thing as well, you can also adjust the easing of your animations. So from here to here, to this keyframe, it's going to have this kind of easing. You can create like some really bouncy ones, elastic ones as well. I'm going to go with, let's go with power 3 for this one. And for this one from here to here, I'm going to go with sign. It looks quite nice. So let's just preview that. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's how you can go through and create a really nice looking parallax effect. Make sure to check out the other tutorials as well with more advanced techniques and things like that. Once you've finished creating your video, you can go to save the project, or you can publish it by clicking on publish and just add your own, choose where you want to save it to and just publish it. But yeah, that's the main things in creating this parallax effect. Have a go yourself. Make sure to download this photo and try it out as well to get started, and yeah, have fun creating.